Hello, children. Today we are going to study the sixth chapter of your Civics. The name of the topic is Understanding Media. Media means the main means of mass communication, boys. What is your favorite TV program? What do you like listening to on the radio? Which newspaper or magazine do you usually read? Do you surf the internet, and what have you found most useful about it? Did you know that there is one word that is often used to collectively refer to the radio, TV, newspaper, internet, and several other forms of communication? Boys, at the beginning of this chapter, some question it asks to you, that is, what is your favorite TV program? Boys, I think that means most of you used to enjoy your TV program. So here it asks to you, what is your favorite TV program? What do you like listening to on the radio? So on the radio program also, which program you like to listen? Which newspaper or magazine do you usually read? And among the newspaper or magazine, which one you used to read regularly? Do you surf the internet, and what have you found most useful about it? And do you surf means to go from one page to another on the internet, browsing for topics of interest, the internet, and what have you found most useful about it, and what you find there which is most useful about it? Did you know that there is one word that is often used to collectively refer to the radio, TV, newspaper, internet, and several other forms of communication? Boys, do you know here that there is one word which is often used to collectively refer to those all media, that is the radio, TV, newspaper, internet, and several other forms of communication. Communication means the imparting of information. The word is media. So media is here, okay, which is often used to collectively refer to this all media. In this chapter, you will read more about the media. Here in this very chapter, you will study about media in detail. You will find out what is required to make it work, as well as the ways in which media affects our daily lives. You will find here in this very chapter, you will find out what is required in order to make it work, as well as the ways in which the media affects our day-to-day lives. Can you think of one thing that you have learned from the media this week? Was a question asked to you again here. Can you think yourself one of the things that you have learned from the media in this week? Everything ranging from the stall at the local fair to the program that you see on TV can be called media. So everything varies from the stall at the local fair to the program which you see on TV. It can be called media. Media is the plural form of the word medium, and it describes the various ways through which we communicate in society. Mediate is the plural form of the word medium, and it describes the different ways through which we communicate in the society, because media refers to all means of communication, everything ranging from a phone call to the evening news on TV can be called media. Here, mediate is the plural form of the word medium, and it describes the different ways through which we communicate in the society. It is because mediate refers to all means of communications, means all types of communications, everything ranging from a phone call to the evening newspaper on TV. It can be called as media. TV, radio, and newspapers are a form of media that reaches millions of people or the masses across the country and the world, and thus they are called mass media. So, TV, that is television, radio, and newspapers, they are a form of media which reaches each and every corner, a nook and corner of the world, that reaches millions of people or the masses, to great number of people. Okay, it reaches across the country and the world, and thus they are called mass media, and that is why they are called mass media. Media and technology. Okay, media, I have already told you, it is the main means of mass communication, and technology means scientific knowledge. Let us see about this again. It would probably be difficult for you to imagine your life without the media. So, boys, it would almost or certainly be difficult for you in order to imagine your life without the media. Media plays very important role, we find here, okay? But cable television and the widespread use of the internet is a recent phenomenon. But boys, this cable television and the widespread means which is spread over a large area, okay? Use of the internet is a recent phenomenon. It is used recently. In earlier days, there were no such phenomenon available, okay? Phenomenon means effect or situation that is observed to exist. These have been around for less than 20 years. The technology that mass media uses keeps changing. So the way of that means this mass media uses, it keeps on changing. Always it is changing day by day. Okay. Newspapers, television, and radio can reach millions of people because they use certain technologies. Newspapers, television, and radio, it can reach to millions of people. It is because they use different technologies here, okay, different say scientific knowledges here. We also tend to discuss newspapers and magazines as the print media and TV and radio as the electronic media. So we also tend here to discuss these newspapers and magazines. They are called print media because they reach to us in the printing way, okay? After printed it reaches to us. And TV and radio as the electronic media. They are the electronic media. With the help of electric, we can enjoy it, see them, okay? This TV program, or we can hear radio also, that are electronic media. Why do you think newspapers are called print media? Question it asks to you, okay? Why do you think newspapers are called print media? As you read further, you will find that this naming is related to the different technologies that this media use. As you proceed further, you read further, you will find that this naming is related to the different technologies, different here, that this media use. The following photographs will give you a sense of the ways in which technology that mass media uses has changed over the years and continues to change. The following photographs, the photographs which is given under boys, here you will it will give you a sense of the ways in which technology that mass media uses has changed over the years and continues to change. Changing technology or machines and making technology more modern helps media to reach more people. See, changing of technology or machines and making technology more modern, it helps media to reach more people. It also improves the quality of sound and the images that you see. And by the way, changing technology, it improves the quality of sound as well as the images which you can see. But technology does more than this. It also changes the ways in which we think about our lives. But technology, you see, boys, it does more than this. Moreover, it also changes the ways in which we think about our lives. For example, today it is quite difficult for us to think of our lives without television. As example, boys, today it is difficult, it is quite difficult, okay, for us in order to think of our lives without television program, okay, to uh, remain, that means at home also we face quite difficult. Television has enabled us to think of ourselves as members of a larger global world. Television, it allows us to think of ourselves as members of this larger global world. That means global world means to the whole world. Television images travel huge distances through satellites and cables. So, boys, television, you see, uh, television images, it travel huge distances, very far distances it used to reach through satellites. Satellites means satellites and cables, okay. Satellites means an artificial body placed in orbit around the earth or moon or another planet in order to collect information. So with the help of the satellites, it reaches to great distance areas, okay. This allows us to view news and entertainment channels from other parts of the world. This allows means this satellite allows us to view this news and entertainment. Entertainment means the action of providing enjoyment, okay, channels from other parts of the world. Most of the cartoons that you see on television are mostly from Japan or the United States. Boys, the cartoon programs which you enjoyed in your TV channel, that means most of them, most of that you see on television, they are mostly from Japan or the United States. Okay, we can now be sitting in Chennai or Jammu and can see images of a storm that has hit the coast of Florida in the United States. So, see, by sitting in Chennai or Jammu or any part of the world and can see images of a storm, okay, which that has hit the coast of Florida in the United States. Television has brought the world closer to us. See, television, it makes our world closer to us, okay. Promptly, that means we can enjoy the program or what is happening throughout the world. We can know it very quickly with the help of television. Media and money. The different technologies that mass media use are expensive. See, the different technologies which are used by this mass media, these are very costly. Okay, expensive means costly. Just think about the TV studio in which the the newsreader sits. It has lights, cameras, sound recorders, transmission, satellites, etc., all of which cost a lot of money. Just you think about the TV studio in which the newsreader used to sit for reading news. It has lights, cameras, sound recorders, transmission satellites, etc., all of which cost a lot of money. See, all these necessities, it require much amount. Okay. In a news studio, it is not only the newsreader who needs to be paid, but also a number of other people who help put the broadcast together. So in a in a news studio, it is not that means only the newsreader who needs to be paid, who needs to be paid that salary, but also a number of other people also who help put the broadcast together. This includes those who look after the cameras and lights. So this includes those who look after the cameras and lights. They are also working there. Also, as you read earlier, the technologies that mass media use keep changing, and so a lot of money is spent on getting the latest technology. So also, as you read earlier, the technologies which are used by this mass media keep changing, and so a lot of money is spent on getting the latest technology. Due to this cause, the mass media needs a great deal of money to do its work. So it is because of this cost, the mass media needs a great deal of money to do its work. Here, a great amount is required to maintain all this work. As a result, most television channels and newspapers are part of big business houses, and that is why most television channels and newspapers, they are part of big business houses. Sorry, was mass media is constantly thinking of ways to make money. Mass media, they always thinking how to earn money. One way in which the mass media earns money is by advertising different things like cars, chocolates, clothes, mobile phones, etc. So one way in which this mass media, they are earning money is by giving advertise, okay, in different things, okay, giving advertise of different things such as cars, chocolates, clothes, mobile phones, etc. You must have noticed the number of advertisements that you have to see while watching your favorite television show. Boys, you must have noticed the number of advertisements, okay, that you have to see at the time of watching your favorite television show. While watching a cricket match on TV, the same advertisements are shown separately between each over, and so you are often watching the same image over and over again. So at the time of watching a cricket match on television, boys. The same advertisements, they are shown separately between each over, and so you are always watching the same image over and over again. As you will read in the following chapter, advertisements are repeated in the hope that you will go out and buy what is advertised. So, as you will read in the following chapter, boys, advertisements, they are repeated. It is because of in the hope that you will go out and purchase what is advertised in the TV. It is their opinion, okay? Media and democracy. In a democracy, the media plays a very important role in providing news and discussing events taking place in the country and the world. So, in a democracy, the media plays a very important role in order to provide news and discussing events taking place in the country and the world. It is on the basis of this information that citizens can, for example, learn how government works. Okay, it is on the basis of this information which are given to us by the media that citizens can, for example, learn how government they are functioning, how they are doing work, and often if they wish to, they can take action on the basis of these news stories. So, and often, and it always, if they wish, if the government wish to, then they can take action on the basis of these news stories. Some of the ways in which they can do this is by writing letters to the concerned minister, organizing a public protest, starting a signature campaign, asking the government to rethink its program, etc. Okay, here some of the ways in which they can do this. It is by writing letters to the related minister, concerned minister, related minister, okay, organizing a public protest, okay, by organizing public protest where a great number of people will gather and protest against of that, then starting a signature campaign, taking signature from different people, asking the government to rethink its program, etc. Given the role that the media plays in providing information, it is important that the information be balanced. So, given the role that the media plays in providing information, it is important that the information be balanced. It should be balanced, that information should be balanced. Let us understand what we mean by a balanced media report by reading two versions of the same news event given on the next page. So let us understand, let us be clear that what we mean by a balanced media report by reading two versions. Versions means two form of the same news event given on the next page. We are going to learn about this balanced media. Here was this crackdown on polluting factories, and then closure of factories causes unrest. You just get through this, okay. The fact is that if you had read either newspaper, you would only know one side of the story. The real fact is that if you had read either newspaper, you would only know one side of the story. If you had read the news of India, you would most likely think of the protesters as a nuisance. Here, if you had read the news of India, the name of the newspaper, okay, you would most probably think of the protesters as a nuisance. Nuisance means as inconvenience. They are disrupting traffic and continually polluting the city with their factories, leave you with a bad impression about them. So they are disrupting. Disrupting means uh, interpreting, okay, traffic, and continually they are polluting the city with their factories, leaves you with a bad impression, with a here bad idea about them. But on the other hand, if you had read the story in the India Daily, you would know that the protests are because a lot of livelihoods will be lost if the factories close, because the relocation efforts have not been adequate. Here, if you had read the story in the India Daily, then you would know that the protests are, it is because a lot of livelihoods will be lost if the factories close. It is because the relocation efforts have not been adequate. It has not been sufficient. Okay. Neither of these stories is a balanced report. A balanced report is one that discusses all points of view of a particular story and then leaves it to the readers to make up their minds. So a balanced report is one which discusses all points of view of a particular story and then leaves it to the readers who is reading the newspaper to make up their minds. Writing a balanced report, however, depends on the media being independent. Write a balanced report, however, it depends on the media being independent here. An independent media means that no one should control and influence its coverage of news. Independent media, it means, boys, that no one should control or influence its coverage of news. They must be free from anyone, okay? And freely they can, that means, write in their newspaper or report on the newspaper. No one should tell the media what can be included and what should not be included in a story, in a news story. So no one should tell the media people that what can be included and what should not be included in a news story. An independent media is important in a democracy. As you read above, it is on the basis of the information that the media provides that we take action as citizens. So it is important that this information is reliable and not biased. So as you read above, boys, it is on the basis of the information the media provides. Okay, it is based on the information whatever collected by the media people. Okay, media provides that we take action as citizens. So it is important that this information is reliable. Okay, and it should not, that means, biased. No other extra things should be included here, okay? However, the reality is that media is far from independent. This is mainly because of two reasons. However, in reality, okay, boys, it is that media is far from independent. This is mainly because of two reasons. The first is the control that the government has on the media. Okay, here the first one is the control that the government has on the media. But it should not like that, okay? Media always should be independent. When the government prevents either a news item or scenes from a movie or the lyrics of a song from being shared with the larger public, this is referred to as censorship. So when the government they prevents or they protect either a news item or scenes from a movie or the lyrics of a song from being shared with the large public, this is referred to as censorship. Censorship means suppression of speech, boys. There have been periods in Indian history when the government censored the media. The worst of this was the emergency between 1975 to 1977. So there have been periods, okay, in Indian history, we have already got that, when the government censored, okay, the media. The worst of this was the emergency between 1975 to 1977. Worst of this, it was happened during the emergency in the year 1975 to 1977. Boys, here under a story, what does TV do to us and what can we do with TV? You just get through this, you read it, okay? While the government does continue to censor films, it does not really censor the media's coverage of news. So at the time government does continue to suppression films, it does not really suppress the media's coverage of news. Despite the absence of censorship by the government, most newspapers nowadays still fail to provide a balanced story. So, even though the absence of the censorship by the government, most newspapers nowadays still they fail to provide a balanced story. The reasons for this are complicated. Persons who research the media have said that this happens because business houses control the media. So the reasons for this are complicated. Complicated means difficult to analyze, boys. Persons who research the media, they have said that this happens, it is because of business houses control the media. At times, it is in the interest of these businesses to focus on only one side of the story. So, at times, it is in the interest of these businesses to focus, to show on only one side of the story. Media's continual need for money and its links to advertising means that it becomes difficult for media to be reporting against people who give them advertisements. See, media's their continual need for money, they needed money and its links to advertising means that it becomes difficult for media person to be reporting against people who give them advertisements. Media is thus no longer considered independent because of its close links to business, and in this way, media is no longer considered as independent because of its closeness links to business. Besides the above, the media also tends to focus on a particular aspect of a story because they believe this makes the story interesting. Apart from the above, the media also here regularly or frequently behave on a particular way to focus on a particular aspect of a story. It is because they believe this makes the story interesting. Also, if they want to increase public support for an issue, they often do this by focusing on one side of a story. Apart from that, if they want to increase public support for an issue, they always do this by focusing on one side of a story. Okay. Setting agendas. The media also plays an important role in deciding what stories to focus on and therefore decides on what is newsworthy. So, the media also plays an important role here in deciding what stories to focus on and therefore decides on what is newsworthy. Newsworthy means unremarkable. For example, the annual function at your school is unlikely to make the news. But if a famous actor is invited as the chief guest, then the media might be interested in covering it. So, as example, you see, the annual function at your school is unlikely to make the news. Here, you'll find interest of the people also it become less. But if a famous actor is invited as the chief guest, then the media might be interested in covering it. Okay, covers that one. Here, media might be very interested. By focusing on particular issues, the media influences our thoughts, feelings, and actions and brings those issues to our attention. So, by focusing on particular issues, here the media influences our thoughts, feelings, and actions and brings issues to our attention. Due to the significant influence it plays in our lives and in shaping our thoughts, it is commonly said that the media sets the agenda. So, due to the significant influence, that meaningful influence it plays in our lives and in shaping our thoughts, it is commonly used to say that the media sets the agenda. Very recently, the media drew our attention to alarming levels of pesticides in cola drinks. So, in very recent year, the media drew our attention towards alarming levels of pesticides. Pesticides, it is a chemical which is used to kill pests from the crops, boys. So this level of pesticides in Coca-Cola drinks, regarding that, our attention has been drawn. They published reports that indicated the high level of pesticides and thus made us aware of the need to regularly monitor these colas according to international quality and safety standards. So they published the fluorescent reports that indicated the high level of pesticides in the Coca-Cola, okay, and thus made us aware of the need to regularly monitor means checking these colas according to international quality and safety standards. They did this despite the government's resistance by boldly declaring that colas were unsafe. They did this even and though the government's resistance by boldly declaring that colas were unsafe. In covering this story, the media positively helped us focus on an issue that affects our lives and one that we might not even have been aware of it had it not been for media reporting. So, in covering this story, the media positively they is to help or helped us focus to draw our attention on an issue that affects our lives and one that we might not even have been aware of it. Okay, had it not been for media reporting. There are several instances when the media fails to focus on issues that are significant in our lives. So there are several examples, boys, when this media fails to focus on issues which are meaningful in our lives. For example, drinking water is a major problem in the country. Every year, thousands of people suffer and die because they do not get safe drinking water. So, boys, here, as example, drinking water, it is a great problem for our India. Every year, thousands of people they used to suffer and die. It is because of they do not get pure water or safe drinking water. However, we seldom find the media discussing this issue. However, that means in a rare case we find the media they are discussing this matter. A well-known Indian journalist wrote of how the fashion week in which clothes designers show their new creations to rich people formed the front page headlines of all the newspapers while several slums were being demolished in Mumbai are very same week, and this was not even noticed. You see, however, we find in a rare case the media discussing this issue of shortage of pure drinking water. A well-known Indian journalist wrote of how the fashion week in which clothes designers show their new creations to rich people, okay, formed the front page headlines of all the newspapers. In the front side, okay, of the newspaper, it has given there. Then while several slums, several poor people were being demolished, their okay, pull or break down. Demolition is pull or pull or knock down. Sorry, pull or knock down in Mumbai the very same week, and this was not even noticed. So such important thing of this Mumbai was not even noticed. As citizens of a democracy, the media has a very important role to play in our lives because it is through the media that we hear about issues related to the working of the government. So, as citizens, voice of a democracy, the media has a very important role here they need to play in our lives because it is through the media that we hear about issues related to the working of the government. The media decides what to focus on, and in this way it sets the agenda. So media here decides what to focus, what to bring the notice to the people on, and this way it sets the agenda. The government can at times prevent the media from publishing a story, and this is called censorship. The government can here at times protect or prevent the media from publishing a story, and this is called censorship. Nowadays, media's close relationship with business often means that a balanced report is difficult to come by. At present days, this media's close relationship with the businessman, with the business persons, it often means that a balanced report is difficult to come by. So this balanced report, it is not getting any place there in the newspaper, you can observe. Given this, it is important for us to be aware that the factual information that a news report provides is often not complete and can be one-sided. So given this, it is important for each of us to be careful that the factual information that a report provides is often not complete. Whatever information it is given by them, it is not complete and can be one-sided. We therefore need to analyze the news by asking the following questions. So in this way, we need here to analyze the news by asking the following questions, which is given here as under. What is the information I am learning from this report? What information is not being provided? From whose point of view is the article being written? Whose point of view is being left out and why? So here the questions which is given here, these are what is the information I am learning from this report? What is the information there which I have learned from that report? And what information is not being provided? What information it has not given there? From whose point of view is the article being written? So in the view of whom, this article has been given there, being written there, whose point of view is being left out and why, and whose point of view it is not given, and why. So here is the end of the chapter. Thank you all.